Hey, real quick, before we dive into today's episode, if you've been feeling like your brand needs a little love, but you're not quite sure where to start, I have just the tool you need. The Standout Brand Audit Bot is an AI-powered guided audit that shows you exactly what's working, what's not, and how to strengthen your brand using my proven Standout brand system. In 10 minutes or less, you'll walk away with clear next steps to move your brand forward with purpose. It's completely free. Just head to the show notes to grab the link and get started. If I'm being really honest with you, I'm getting really tired of the AI conversation really quickly. But the age of AI is here. It's not going anywhere. And I feel like this is something that's really important for us to talk about as business owners, as far as how we are and are not using and willing to use AI in our businesses. You will find people on both sides of the spectrum. Some people are acting like it's going to replace entire industries and we all need to find some new marketable skills. There's other people who feel like it's really unethical and kind of lazy. Most of us are stuck somewhere in the middle, wondering if they should be using it more, if they're behind, is using AI cheating, what's the smartest way to use it. And my position is that I'm not anti-AI, but I'm also not entirely pro-AI. I have tried to be very careful and very strategic in the way that I use AI in my business, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to be sharing exactly how I am using AI in business and also how I am not using it and some of the questions that I ask myself whenever I decide whether or not this is a task that I should be using AI for. If you are feeling on the fence about whether or not to use AI in your business, how much to use it in your business, if your clients are going to judge you for using AI in your business, I think this episode will be really helpful for you. Welcome to the Six Figure Brand Podcast, where each week we're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to build a six-figure business as an online service provider. I'm your host, Morgan. I'm a branding expert, online agency owner, mom of two, and military spouse, and I'm obsessed with helping entrepreneurs like you understand the ins and outs of branding so that you can use it to grow your business without sacrificing your sanity. Whether you're just starting out or focused on scaling, we're diving into everything you need to build a profitable and sustainable online business. Let's get to it. So I was a late adopter, I feel like, of ChatGPT. It took me a while to decide that I wanted to try it and really embrace it. I am generally always a little slow to want to learn a new tool or a new software in my business just because I feel like we already have so many things that work, and I try really hard to not get shiny object syndrome and FOMO and be always on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But eventually I did cave and get a ChatGPT account and have been using it in different ways in my business for maybe the last year and a half or so. In that time, I have learned that AI is really good at speed, synthesizing information, recognizing patterns, organizing things, and brainstorming like an overall structure for a thing that I'm trying to create, but it is not great at any sort of nuance or discernment, creating things that really feel and sound human, and thought leadership. So because of that, I really try to rely on AI as an assistant in my business rather than the expert in my business. It's great at helping me do things faster and sift through like large amounts of information a lot more quickly than I would be able to, but it cannot replace the thing that makes my business valuable. And that's me and my experience and my brain. So let's talk about a few of the ways that I am using AI in my business. The first one, and this could be more on the controversial side, maybe, is to help me with content creation. I am so busy. I have two small children. I'm solo parenting a lot of the time, and I have less than 20 hours a week of uninterrupted time to work on my business. So I really need to do whatever I can to make things that generally take a lot of time, like content creation, go faster. And AI has helped me to be able to do that. Now, I am not using ChatGPT or Claude. And to be clear, I don't really want to have a conversation about which AI tool is best, but I do use ChatGPT and Claude interchangeably, depending on the task, just for the sake of transparency. Now, I'm not using AI to create the content for me. I'm using it to help me get the content and the ideas and the thought leadership that is already in my head out of my head and onto paper. So I will use ChatGPT for things like outlining podcast episodes, organizing talking points for a presentation I'm going to give, and creating really rough drafts of my actual social media content. The boundary I have set for myself here is that everything starts from what's inside my brain. My ideas, my opinions, conversations I've had with clients, my own personal stories, my brand voice. I am not going to ChatGPT and saying, what should I write an Instagram post about today? And then it gives me a list of like 5 ideas. And then I say, okay, go do this one. Doing it that way is maybe faster and easier for sure, but it's not going to speak to my audience's specific pain points and where they are in their business. It's not going to be in my brand voice, and it's going to feel really, really generic because my AI tool is just looking on the internet for what other people are doing and then regurgitating that. And that's not what I want. I am not asking AI to tell me what I think as a business owner. I'm asking it to help me express and get onto paper the thoughts that I'm already having. My favorite way to do this is with voice notes. So I will literally hit the little microphone button on ChatGPT and speak out loud and say, hey, I need to outline a podcast episode about this topic. Here are all of my general thoughts around that topic and how I kind of want the episode to flow and some additional things that I want to make sure that we touch on. Typically, a voice note like that is like 2 to 4 minutes long. It's pretty robust, right? And then ChatGPT will spit out to me a bullet point outline of my podcast episode. I'm using one of those as a reference while I'm recording this episode right now. The important thing to note here is it's not a script, right? It's not telling me what to say. It's just making sure that I have written down on paper all of the main points I want to cover. And then I, with my own brain and my own expertise, am filling in the gaps and adding my little stories and my nuance and the things that I want to make sure that you know so that it still sounds and feels like me. And my AI tool is just helping to speed up that process so that I'm not sitting here spending an hour typing out a podcast outline for every single episode that I have to do. Same thing with social media content. I follow literally the exact same process, except for when I'm using Claude or ChatGPT to actually write anything for me. First of all, it's only writing a rough draft. I edit it heavily. But second of all, I add a little note in there and I say, please use as much of my actual voice, my actual words as possible. And that really helps to keep things on brand and not sounding like everyone else. So the key here with content creation is that I'm doing the thinking. I'm not asking AI what bright ideas I have about branding. Those are already in my head. Secondly, I'm using voice notes to help my AI tool create content that is more in my brand voice and more unique and personal to me. And third, I am editing the crap out of everything that it gives me to make sure that it's on point, that it says what I want to say, that it sounds like me, and that it's not the same as everybody else who's talking about branding on the internet. The second way that I'm using AI in my business, and this is truthfully probably my favorite thing that I've been doing over the last year, is market research. I work with lots of clients and we get on lots of calls and they fill out questionnaires and they give feedback on their design drafts and then they give me feedback after the whole project. And I have mountains of data and resources from my clients that can tell me things like, what are their common pain points? What patterns are we seeing? What things do they all want? What messaging language do clients naturally use? What are some areas that maybe everyone has a sticking point in my process that I could improve? What questions do they all ask me? What are they struggling to articulate? What, during a standout brand strategy session, am I repeating over and over again to every client? It would take me, I couldn't even tell you how long, days at least, to sift through all of that and sit there with my highlighter and find all those patterns myself. So instead, I will give all of those resources to an AI tool like ChatGPT and ask it to help me find those patterns and help me pull out that language that I want to use in my marketing. This is super, super useful because it allows me to use real data to make decisions in my business and to figure out what messaging and marketing I need to be using and all of those things in a really fast and easy and manageable way. So then I'm able to improve my offers, tweak my messaging so that it resonates more with my ideal audience. I can use it to think of ideas to talk about in my content. I can make updates to my client experience. I can change around sales pages that maybe aren't working or aren't communicating the right things. And all of that makes a huge difference in moving the needle in my business. So in this case, I'm using AI to help me pay more attention to my audience, to listen to exactly what they're telling me and use that to improve my business. But the important part here is that I'm taking actual words and actual data from my clients. I'm not saying, hey, ChatGPT, my ideal audience is a 35-year-old business owner who's a mom and she's been in business about 5 years and her pain points are XYZ, blah, 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 and then asking it to build off of that. I'm giving it the raw data to help me find those patterns and then use them to move my business forward. And then the third big way that I am using AI in my business is to organize information. I pride myself on being a highly, highly organized person. And also, in order to be the level of organized that I would like to be, would take more time than I have. So I am constantly using AI to keep me organized. I will use it to create content calendars. In this case, I will say, okay, in the month of May, I have these promos going on. I want to post on Instagram 3 times a week, Threads every day, LinkedIn 3 times a week, and send 1 email to my list a week. Here are the topics that I'm going to be talking about. Here's any events or like guest speaking things that we're going to need to promote. And then I will ask it to put that all in a calendar in a way that makes sense. I could, of course, sit down and do that manually myself, but that would take me, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour, or ChatGPT can do it for me in like 5 seconds. So why would I not do that? I do the same thing for project plans and launch timelines and anything like that in my business where I can give it the raw information and say, okay, put this into a plan that actually makes sense. Again, it's not doing any of the big picture thinking for me. It's just organizing all the stuff that's already in my brain. And why would I not use a tool that can help me make that more streamlined, faster, and more seamless? Most of us as online business owners are not lacking in the ideas department. We need help organizing the ideas we already have, organizing all the stuff that's going on in our life and business. And that organization is the difference between whether or not we actually take action on all of those ideas. So using ChatGPT in this way can really help me from being the bottleneck in my business. And that's been a game changer, to be honest with you. Now let's talk about how I am not using AI in my business. First and foremost, and I cannot say this loudly and clearly enough, I am not and will not be using AI to do any design work at all. The closest I would say that I would ever get to this would be using like the magic background remove tool and some of those things that are within Canva. But never, ever, ever will you find me asking AI to design a logo, to create a branding system, to choose a color palette, to create brand guidelines, to create anything that I am ever going to deliver to a client. Why? First and foremost, because I feel very strongly that it's unethical. AI works by scraping the internet for inspiration and then copying those things to create something that I told it that I wanted. And I don't think that's cool. Also, my design skill, or my team's design skill rather, is a big part of what my clients are paying me for. And I don't have ChatGPT listed as a team member on the Spect & Co website for a reason. Good design is super, super, super intentional. It's super nuanced. There's a human touch to it. And ChatGPT and any of these other tools are frankly not capable of that. It doesn't understand context. It doesn't really understand brand strategy. It doesn't understand the human element, and it's not able to collaborate with a client or with a team the way that I am. So you can rest assured that any design work that you ever receive from Spect & Co will be done start to finish by a human. I am also not using AI to create my clients' brand strategies. Again, this is my core genius. This is the thing that people pay me for. So why on earth would I go to ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, create a brand strategy for my client, blah, 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 whatever. First of all, you can do that on your own. You don't need to pay me $1,000 to do that for you. But second of all, good brand strategy requires a human connection. I spend so much time on a strategy session just sitting back and listening really deeply and paying attention to body language and reading between the lines and knowing which things a client says that we need to dive a little deeper on and which threads to pull and understanding all of that nuance. And ChatGPT is just not capable of that. You, as the client, are paying me for all of the years and years of experience that I have doing brand strategy, the patterns I'm able to recognize, the unique questions that I know to ask you that ChatGPT would never think of, and my ability to connect all of those dots and turn it into something that is actually useful and going to move your business forward. ChatGPT can synthesize information. So I could give it a client's brand strategy questionnaire and it could take all of that and basically reorganize it into a final strategy document. But that is not what a client is paying me for when they hire me for brand strategy. They're paying me to take that questionnaire and break it down and ask more questions and dig deeper and really pull out of them the core strategy and foundation of their brand. And that is just not something that AI is capable of. And finally, I touched on this earlier, I am not using AI to outsource my thought leadership. I posted a thread about this a while ago about how AI is great and it's helpful for speeding things up, but also you have a brain and your brain is a muscle. Not to be too blunt here, but if you don't use it, you will lose it. You need to be flexing that muscle. This, I think, is the most important as far as ways that I'm not using AI in my business. Thought leadership means my original perspective, my opinions, my lived experience, the insight that only I can provide, and the things that I'm really willing to take a stand for or plant my flag in. And that has to come from me. If I ask ChatGPT to do that for me, it's going to sound like everybody else on the internet and no one's going to care and it's not going to stand out and it's not going to resonate with anyone. So I am never going to ask AI, what hot take should I post, or use it to try and formulate my own opinions on a topic, or ask it what to say on the basis that I'm just trying to say something that will perform well. If we all used AI to generate our own, quote, thought leadership, we're all just going to be swimming in a sea of AI slop and no original thoughts. And as a brand strategist and as a business expert, you are paying me for my original thoughts. So when I see people who I can tell are really leaning on AI for this stuff, it really is a bummer for me. Like, it doesn't even make me mad. It's just disappointing because I know that they have good, smart, unique thoughts in their brain, and the world needs more of those, not less. Your audience does not follow you because they want to see or hear more content from you that is the same as what they could get their own AI tool to generate. They want your perspective. And so I think it's really, really, really important to remember that as we embrace AI in our businesses, and I think that we should, I think that there's really no avoiding that. Remember that you are the thing that makes your business unique. Your audience wants your perspective, and ChatGPT cannot create that for you. So how do I decide whether or not I want to use AI in my business to help me with the specific task or thing that I'm working on? Honestly, it's really simple. I ask myself a couple of questions. First of all, what is the main reason that I would be using AI for this task? For me, really at the core of it, AI is a time-saving tool. So if it's not going to save me time, then it's probably a no. It's probably something that I need to just do with my own hands and my own brain. Second, is this going to actually get me closer to my business goals faster? I think with the rise of AI, I am seeing a lot of people using AI to do things in their business that they really don't even need to be doing in the first place. I like to call that procrastinating, where you say, oh, I can, use AI to make me a 12-month content calendar. It's gonna help because I'm gonna know all these things and I'm gonna have such a great plan and I'll know in January what I'm gonna be talking about on social media in October. That's not necessary. And you're gonna spend probably a good while, like a couple of hours, going back and forth with ChatGPT, having it help you create this plan or calendar or document. And I can guarantee you're never going to use it. You should have spent that time networking or connecting with an ideal client or updating your website or creating content for social media instead. So do I actually need to be doing the thing that I'm asking AI to help me with? And finally, how would I feel if a client knew that I was using AI for this? This kind of touches back on the brand strategy and brand design point. I would be mortified if a client knew or thought that I was using AI to do their work for them, to design their brand, to create their brand strategy, any of that. I would be so embarrassed by that. I would not care at all if a client knew that I was using AI to outline a podcast episode or to plan my content for the month. I feel like those things are not a big deal. And if anything, I feel like my ideal client would ask me like, oh, can you tell me more about how you do that? That's really interesting. How much time is it saving you? So those are kind of my three barometers. Is it going to save time? Is this a thing that I actually should be doing? And how would I feel if a client knew I was using AI for this? And 100% of the time, the answers to those questions will help me decide whether or not this is a thing that I should be using AI for or not. So to kind of bring this back around, AI is a tool and a useful one, but it is not a shortcut to your business. It can't replace you, it can't really get inside your brain, and it cannot facilitate connection with your audience on a human level. Your business still needs to be built on trust, skill, relationships, your unique perspective, and all of those things have to come from you. So yes, I am using AI to support my business and mostly to save me time in my business so that I can serve my clients better, but I am not relying on AI to be the business for me. And I think that's a really, really important nuance. I know this is a really hot topic, so DM me on Instagram and tell me what you thought of this episode, as well as how you are or are not using AI in your business. Thanks for tuning in to the Six Figure Brand Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to rate the show and leave a review on whatever app you're listening on. And as a thank you, I'll send you coffee on me. Yes, I'm serious. As a smaller show for now, you taking the time to do this makes a huge impact on how we can reach more people and how I can continue to create this content for free. When you take a screenshot of your review, follow and tag me on Instagram at @SpectandCo. I'll send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. As always, don't forget to check out the show notes for any links or resources I mentioned during the episode. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week.